All right, the sound is on now.
Yay. Just checking to make sure you guys paying good attention.
Thank you so much for staying in the chat. See, this is why it's important for you guys to chat in the chat box. So let's start all over. Now that the mic is on, we're going to start one more time.
Oh, good.
Hi, everybody. Hi, this is Linda from Brain Education TV. And today we have a very, very special live with a special somebody. I want to introduce you to my friend. His name is David Driscoll from Body and Brain TV. Yay!
Nice to be here. I'll say it again. I've been enjoying BETV and watching, and I know a lot of you guys are passionate and very active, so I'm excited to hear what you have to say, and I think we'll have a good conversation, especially now that the mic is on.
Yeah, thank you so much. We're about to do the whole live without the mic on.
No, they would have let us know.
Yeah, okay. Thank God you guys are here, man. If you guys weren't here, we'd have just done this whole thing with like this, and then the recording would go up like that. All right, so anyway, as you guys know from our channel, I'm a brain education instructor, and also David is a brain education instructor too. So he's the main face of Body and Brain TV, which you guys, by the way, should subscribe to. And he teaches different techniques on Body and Brain TV as a brain education instructor. So we're going to talk about just casually today, the topic of what is life like as a brain education instructor?
Wow, that's a big topic. What is life like?
I know, right? It sounds very philosophical. But basically today we're just going to talk casually, David and I, about what our lives are like being a brain education instructor. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So like all the other lives that we do have a super chat function. So the chat box that you guys are commenting in now, there's a rectangular button with a $sign underneath the area where you type. If you guys want to show some support for our channel, please feel free to do so. That your donations will support the content that we make, support the work that we're doing, support all the things that we're doing here at BETV.
Yeah.
All right, so let's dive right in.
Let's do it.
All right, David, my first question that I want to talk about is, in your own words, how would you define a brain education instructor?
Well, brain education, as I think you guys know already, is kind of a system of practices for mental health and physical wellness, and you can utilize it in your daily life. So being an instructor really just means having a venue or having somebody that you like to share those techniques with. It can be formally as like a job, and there's different entities and different companies that teach this kind of thing. Or it can be informally, like you read a book and you want to help your friends and family, and so you open up a live class or something. So I think it's really just the willingness to share brain education that makes you a brain education instructor.
Yeah, it's like like David said, it's just somebody who feels passionate about brain education and knows some techniques to help other people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one thing that people kind of ask me all the time is they want to be perfect in order to teach somebody, right?
Right.
They want to know like A to Z of everything and be like an expert on something. And they feel, oh, since I'm not an expert in brain education, I can't be a brain education instructor.
Teach. Yeah, I still have so many things I'm working on. How can I actually share it? But we always say that even if you've studied for 1 week, even one class sometimes, you already have something that somebody needs to hear.
Yeah, that's true. And I like to use this analogy. So if you're a fifth grader, you might not be able to teach a 12th grader, but a fifth grader can still teach a first grader. So even if you don't know everything about the school system, if you're halfway in the school system, you can still teach the people that you've already kind of experienced, right? So even a fifth grader can teach a first, second, third, fourth grader, but even if they can't teach 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, doesn't mean that they're not good at teaching other people.
And then the thing about brain education is it's so much experiential. It's not just about memorizing lessons or knowing how to describe it the right way. It's really about how you feel and how it works for you, your mind and body. So each person's a little different. And then each person who studies it needs to learn for themselves and experience it for themselves as well.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. So your personal story. We love personal stories. I love personal stories.
I like personal stories too.
Right. It gives a little bit of a little touch to just like saying this is what a brain instructor is, but
Mm.
so I want to ask you, how long did it take you to practice? Since we're on the topic of kind of being an instructor,
Mhm.
how long did it take you to practice before you became an instructor? Maybe you could tell us a little bit about like where you were in life too before.
It's an interesting story because I started and still work with body and brain, yoga and Tai Chi. And there's centers all over the country that do exercise classes as well as meditation and retreats. But I started because I was looking for a job, but I had an interest. I knew that yoga and meditation were really good. I had tried that in college. So after college, I don't know if you're this kind of person, but I'm the kind of person who liked to do everything. So I was doing music, I was doing athletics, I was doing breakdancing, believe it or not.
Breakdancing!
So I was doing all these things, and I studied anthropology, human evolution.
Wow.
I loved all these things, visual arts.
That's because you're talented.
But you know how it is, like you like to do many, many things, but you can't kind of stick or pick one of them. So after college, that's where I was at. But the one thing I knew was I felt really good after doing some kind of mind-body practice like yoga. I felt happier as well as physically healthier and more coordinated. So I knew I wanted to do that. And in between graduating from college and thinking about graduate school, I decided to work part-time at a yoga center.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I got started.
Yeah, nice. So how long were you practicing? Was it like a year or?
Like 3 months.
There you go. See, that's our point right there. He practiced for 3 months and then he became an instructor. You don't need to practice for 30 years to become an instructor.
And my instructor kind of, encouraged me very strongly. She said, you can do it. It's really simple. And I said, no. I can't memorize the whole techniques. I need to study more, which stretches I want to lead. And then she just kind of threw me in there one day. And I was just doing the stretching part of the class, the beginning of the class. And it was tough. That first time you do something, especially in front of people, it's tough. But at the end of it, I realized, yeah, there was a lot that I could share. And if I'm confident about it, there's actually a lot more I could share.
Right. Yeah. And I think that I like how you said your instructor kind of just threw you in there and said, just try it, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that really embodies the principle of what El Chili teaches, that if you choose it, it will happen.
Yeah.
So as long as you have this mindset of doing it, if you want to do it, you can do anything. It's just that I don't make up that mind to do it. That's why we are stuck somewhere or have obstacles.
Yeah.
In our lives.
And I know that well because it's important to study and get the fundamentals down. And I'm somebody who was very kind of serious about academics. So I ended up going to Princeton. And everything,
Smarty pants.
it was like, you got to pass. You got to know what the right answer is. And everything has a win or lose. And so I was very familiar with that. And it makes it hard sometimes to just go out and improvise. Although, honestly speaking, at Princeton, I can say one of the things I learned the most was most people are just improvising.
Interesting.
And the people who are really talented or doing well in a certain subject, often they're just kind of going with the flow. They're confident. It doesn't mean they memorized everything. So I did learn that before, and I knew that there was something there. But when I found brain education, I found how to study that.
Right. So for me, I was practicing for a year and a half.
A year and a half, yeah.
A year and a half. So it took me longer than 3 months like David, because for a year and a half, I was resisting. For a year and a half. But my headmaster also was like, you should become an instructor. You have the gift. You have talent. I think you really want this. I think you should do it. But I said, no, I don't want to become one because I want to do other things in my life. Even though deep down in my heart, I knew so badly I wanted to become one. I was afraid to become one because I thought I wasn't good enough. And I thought that I was stuck in this mentality that we were talking about earlier, how society teaches you that you can't be a teacher unless you're an expert. Right. And like, you can't be a teacher unless you are perfect too, because if you're not perfect and you're teaching, you're a hypocrite, People say things like that.
And somebody will call you out. Maybe you won't have the answer.
Yeah, and you get judged by people like saying, oh, she's not there yet, but how dare she teach kind of thing, Right. So I felt so afraid of that judgment and so like inadequate and so fearful of really stepping up to the plate and admitting that I really did want to become an instructor.
Absolutely. And I think some of us, we have the instinct to challenge those limits, but deep down inside, there's a long process that we're going through. Long process. But if you've ever studied anything or gotten good at something, you know that it's going to take time. And along the way, you got to just kind of enjoy the process, even though you're not going to be real good at it in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think if you do that, then you can learn anything.
Right.
You can become an expert at just about anything, even if you're not very good in the beginning.
That's very true, because just repetition and practice makes you improve naturally.
Exactly. There's no substitute. Yeah. Somebody who's really talented, they'll be good for a while, but 6 months later, a year later, everybody gets a little bit tired of it if they don't have that excitement and passion.
Right. Yeah. So I'm curious, David. So at what point, you talked about your headmaster made you practice for 3 months and then said dive right into being an instructor. So I'm curious, at what point for you did something click in your brain and you're like, okay, yes, this is what I want to do with my life, and you decided to make that dive?
I think it was kind of early on, like I said, but it was also step by step, I kept awakening more of the importance of this. So I knew that I loved doing yoga. I had done some hatha yoga in college, and I felt really good, especially after sports injuries and breakdancing and things like that. My body was pretty stiff and sore. So after yoga, I felt really great. I knew I wanted to do that, but then when I started brain education through Body and Brain, I realized that this was the kind of stuff I've been looking for in academics. Like, how can we live in harmony with each other? How can we live like more in control of ourselves? Not just, oh, I want this, I want that, things that are bad for the environment, but I don't care because I want it. How can we really live as people who are masters of their own life? And the brain education techniques really stood out to me, like, oh, this is what I've been looking for. This is what I've been. So that side of it, beyond the physical side, after 6 months or so, I said, yeah, this is really important. I'm going to keep practicing this. I'm going to keep teaching this.
Yeah, so for me to talk about that point that my brain said, aha, because I told you guys I was resisting for a long time, I have to tell you a little bit about my backstory real quick. So basically, I shared a little bit in one of my videos on BTV, but for most of my life, I lived with this sense of profound emptiness in my heart. I couldn't explain what it was, and I couldn't fill it with anything that life told me should make me happy. More friends, partying, material things, blah, 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 blah. I tried to fill it with things that society said you need to make you happy. But that emptiness in my chest and the sense of like, there has to be something more to life was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And at that point, that's when I kind of found brain education through my mom, who was practicing it before me. And I saw how much it made her so much happier, so much brighter. She was doing something, I could tell from her face at home. She was doing something, I didn't know what it was at the time, that was making her glow from the inside out. So that's when I was like, okay, I'm really miserable and lonely and empty and depressed inside, but I want whatever you're having. I want whatever you're doing, kind of thing. So I went into brain education, and then I started, like you, I started feeling the real good benefits of brain education. And as I mentioned, I really loved it, but I had so much of my own internal conflict and problems of my self-doubt, my lack of confidence, my mistrust in myself, my fear of judgment from other people that prevented me from diving into doing what I really knew in my heart that I wanted to do.
Right.
So the point that kind of made me switch was I was resisting for a long time, for 1.5 years, but I went to Sedona Mago Retreat, and I attended a 6-week camp, a 6-week retreat for like young people. We like did farming, we did body training, we did so many things, 6 weeks of connecting with nature and connecting with ourselves. So in that retreat, with the deeper I connected to myself, I finally felt that I came to a point where all the energies in life have been kind of pushing me towards this direction. And I felt like energetically cornered. Like I was lying to myself for so long, like trying to dodge this, like
that's a tough moment.
Like this, trying to dodge it because I was so afraid, you know? But everything came and like cornered me and I didn't see room to dodge anymore. Yeah. So that's when I said, okay, I either have to get over all this fear of judgment that I have and admit that honestly, this is what I want, or I just run away forever. Yeah. I felt like I came to that kind of fork in the road, right? Yep, yep. And I was so afraid, I was so scared, but I did this and I said, okay, fine, I'll do it. And then that's when I kind of ran forward without looking, just, I'll sign up. So I signed up to take the instructor course for brain education. And it's been 8 years since then. And it was the best decision I made so far.
Yeah, now that I think about it, I really resonate with that story too. For me, it was kind of overthinking. I don't know if you guys have this too, if you're kind of aware of that or if that's what you feel, but I felt very clearly, I'm thinking too much. How do you stop thinking? And I remember saying this to people when I started practicing, like, I just want to stop thinking. And a lot of them said, no. Thinking is important. Thinking is good.
Right. Thinking is intelligence.
Thinking is intelligent. It's so important. And I said, no, but really, I'm tired of it. Really, I see the limit of thinking. It's not helping anymore. And then I think that's in the beginning what really stood out to me was the first time that I could really stop thinking and just feel present is through a lot of the body and brain education techniques, especially with the physical body. And I'd always been active, but my kind of activity had been like, flipping upside down and balancing on your hands and,
break dancer,
bumping into people playing sports. A lot of like chaotic activity. And this was the first time that I really did that like deep focusing activity, using the body, using the breathing, and afterwards feeling like, oh yeah, I've got some space now from that thinking. And it was so refreshing. It was so refreshing to me. So in the beginning, I had all these big ideas about like, yeah, this is good for everybody, good for changing the world. But what really mattered to me was the feeling of being centered and being at peace. And just being kind of comfortable in the present moment. That was something I didn't even know that I was missing.
Great. So before we go on to the next question, let's read some comments from the chat. So I see a lot of people saying hi. So hi, RB Faye1. Hi, Manish. Hi, Blue Cherry.
Thanks, everybody, for the reminder about the microphone. We got it.
Upendra, hello. Judy, hello. I see Korea, too. Heyong, hello. VA Tracker.
반갑습니다.
VA Tracker, hello. David, hi. Ramalakshmi.
Yeah.
Yes, Ramalakshmi, hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. I think you're tuning in from India, probably, right? All right. So RB Faye says, do you think this training has emotional side? Like you mean brain education has an emotional side?
Absolutely right.
I think so. It makes you, if anything, get in touch with your emotions because so much of our society tells you not to feel. Like boys aren't supposed to cry. And if you cry, you're weak. If you show your emotions, you're weak. Like we get fed all these information about not feeling ourselves. That's why people like David, they think so much. They're in their heads, So definitely, I think this practice makes you connected to your emotional side, but not in a bad way.
I think an interesting thing, like for me as one of those academic people coming in, was the idea that everything happens in our head and emotions are something that we have to control with our understanding. But the reality is that emotions are part of having a physical body as a human being. And often the way that your body's working affects the way your emotions are working. So learning to connect with the body more and not overthink things and not try to shut them down with understanding actually has an automatic connection to the emotional side of life, which I would say, of course, every human being has that. It's built into us.
Right. And I want to mention that emotional has a really negative connotation. If you call someone emotional, it's not a good thing, right?
Yeah, like some people say, oh, why is that person upset?
Yeah.
Oh, well, they might be showing emotion. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're like upset or something's wrong.
Right. So I want you guys to understand that emotional is not a bad thing. I think emotions are what enrich the human experience, but emotions can become a problem if you are not controlling your emotions, but the emotions are controlling you.
Absolutely.
That's when it becomes a problem. But that's like everything in life. It's not about the object itself, but how I'm using that object that could make it a good thing or a bad thing.
And emotions and thinking have an interesting relationship. Sometimes our thinking can help us produce the emotions we want. But sometimes, even when we think about being happy, oh, I should be grateful, I should be happy, but the emotion is doing its own thing. Maybe depressed, maybe still kind of covered up. Until we do something deeper than thinking about it, often that emotion doesn't change.
Yeah. So I see Wildflower Wellness donated in the super chat. Woo! Wildflower Wellness, Wildflower Wellness, Wildflower Wellness.
Look at that cartoon right there.
I know, that little emoji is so cute. I think it's a Shiba Inu.
Shiba Inu?
Yeah, it's a dog.
It's a dog. Yeah.
Japan,
I recognize the dog.
Very cute. Thank you so much, Wildflower Wellness. Yay!
You're the best.
All right,
we had another question, I think.
Yeah, let's read some other comments. So Chiller CK said, what's the difference between humility and cowardice?
I think for a lot of men, this is a really, really good question. Like, you know it when you see it, right? If you see someone who's genuinely humble and confidence actually goes a lot with humility. You can tell that it's not cowardice. In fact, the movies play it all the time. You can see the hero who's quiet and like in control of themselves, not reacting. They're humble. But when the time comes, they're confident and proactive. But it's different than cowardice. So we know it's different, but like, how do you explain the difference? What would you say?
I would say humility comes from a place of power, being confident in who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And that confidence makes you see yourself as an equal to somebody instead of like, oh, I'm better than you, or I'm like, above you kind of thing. So humility comes from knowing how to become real from a place of power. Whereas cowardice, it's not from a place of power, it's a place of fear. And it's a place of lower consciousness where you see yourself kind of less than people. Because if you're being a coward, it's kind of like this. Whereas humility, it's kind of hard to explain, but if I were to like explain with motion, cowardice is kind of like,
let's see, interpretive dance.
Like this.
Cowardice.
Internally, even if like on the outside, you might be like, oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. But if you're using the energy of cowardice, it's like this. Whereas the energy of humility is more like open and like powerful.
So if you're taking that, we could even say like cowardice doesn't always look like somebody who's running away. Right. Sometimes cowardice is actually like being aggressive.
Right. Like
being tough. But inside, it doesn't feel like good. It doesn't feel centered.
Yeah.
So either way, I think humility is all about like, I know what's important to me. I may not be big and strong or smart and fast, but I know what's important to me, and I'm just going to do that. And cowardice is maybe you're big and strong and fast and smart, but I don't know what's really important, so I'm just going to kind of react to the situation.
Right. So let's read some other comments. Judy says, I get so nervous being the center of attention. I think you're not the only one.
I think most people would totally agree.
Right.
Actually, I think that kind of relates to knowing what you really want. If you're not clear, if you doubt what you want, in my experience, it's really hard to overcome that nervousness. But if you know what you want, you can get out there even being nervous because I really do want it. Even if I'm going to look a little bit uncomfortable, it's worth it to me.
Yeah.
I see a theme.
Yes. All right. So Yasmin says, I've been doing brainwave vibration exercises. Wow, I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome because that's a really good stop thinking exercise.
One of the best ways to stop thinking, especially if you need to do it kind of quickly, is movement, vibration exercise.
Mm-hmm. Then Rama from Israel, I love you. Do you have new videos? Yeah, we have new videos, 2 new videos every week. So every Tuesday and then Wednesday, US time. I'm not sure how it translates to the time in Israel, but US time, Tuesdays and Saturdays, we have new videos every week.
Nice.
Yeah, so if you didn't subscribe yet, subscribe and then click the bell for notifications. When you click the bell next to the subscribe button, you'll get notified when we have new videos, so you'll never miss a video.
Awesome.
Yes. All right, so let's move on with the question. So David, how has your life changed after becoming a brain education instructor? So that the audience can see, okay, maybe I want to become one, but what can I expect? How can I expect my life to change, kind of thing?
That's the really kind of exciting side of things, because I think it's different for everybody who becomes a brain education instructor. That's based true. On what you want, what you're dealing with. I told you, for me, overthinking was kind of a dead end. Honestly speaking, like I took it to the limit. I was like, what can I get out of this? And the limit of thinking was just lots of doubt. At the end of the day, everything had a problem. If you think about it enough, everything has a problem, right? That's true. And everything is not hopeful. If you think about it enough. Yeah. And even if you think about feeling hopeful, it doesn't mean you're going to feel hopeful. Right. So at the end of the day, that's where I was at. So my life changed, among many other things, mostly because I always had a way to move forward when I got stuck. Whereas before, when I got stuck, I actually got really self-destructive. That was my way out. Like in college, if I got self-destructive, maybe drinking and partying, or maybe just doing something reckless, like to go out at night and do like crazy stuff, young guy. Fight Club, right? I love Fight Club. It's so stupid in a way, but I really love that idea of just like beating each other to a pulp, and that somehow we get freedom through that. Like instead of that, now I found a way, which is just choose, just change your behavior, just change your emotion, just act differently, because that's how our brain is working. So instead of being stuck in that kind of dead end of like, everything's hopeless, let's just mess it up, I really started to feel like I always had a reason to choose. So that may be like very philosophical sounding, but to me, it changed a lot of behaviors. Yeah, I think that's a kind of common thread in all the brain education instructors, that everyone went through a different experience in life, but ultimately what we learned from brain education really changed our behaviors and thoughts. So for me, how my life has changed since becoming one was I shared that before I really lacked confidence, and I had a fear of judgment and didn't really connect or love myself at all. But I would say brain education, through the practices, through the support of the community, because we do have a community of instructors too, and members. That's a big deal. Yeah, so there's like a big community of brain education practitioners consisting of members and instructors, and then of course Chili, the founder. So that community, and then the practice, and then just having like some tools that I can use in my daily life and share with people that have helped me physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, just gave me a real deep sense of confidence, and gave me a way to connect with myself, and gave me a way to fill this emptiness that I had in my heart, that now in retrospect, I realize I had because I was so disconnected with myself. But society doesn't teach you how to connect with yourself. There's some meditation groups out there that seem like they teach you how to connect to yourself, but actually some of the meditation groups that I joined teach you to like really just not connect with yourself and think about outside things. Yeah, and it's good for relaxing, but I know what you mean. Sometimes guided meditation, you don't end up really connecting deeply. Sometimes you do. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, so by doing brain education in my life, like I would say in one sentence, it gave me confidence, and it taught me how to love myself as I am, and to see myself clearly so that I see exactly where my strengths are, my shortcomings, and then know how to improve those shortcomings because I'm paying attention to myself. That's right. Before I wasn't paying attention to myself, and I was like, I want to feel happy, but I don't know why I'm not happy. Well, it's because you're not paying attention to yourself. But brain education taught me to be like, okay, let's look inside and connect. It's like the owner versus the store employee. If the store employee is just there 9 to 5 for a paycheck and the front sign has a rip in it or something, the employee's like, yeah, talk about it later to the owner.
Right.
But the owner wants to know about every problem right away because they're going to fix it. They take responsibility. It's the same thing. If you feel confident about yourself, then you want to know about the weaknesses. You want to know about the things that aren't working right about yourself because you're going to do something with it. And that's what brain education can kind of be confidence building for.
Yeah, so maybe you guys are going through some similar things that David and I went through before we became instructors. So if something resonates with you, then why not think about the possibility of becoming a brain education instructor yourself?
Becoming an instructor is a daily opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Every day is an opportunity. It's not about just studying a textbook and then passing a course or something like that. It's really about meeting people and delivering something that you've practiced and experienced, and also getting a sense for what they need because each person is a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very holistic, it's a very organic kind of teaching process that's quite personal, quite meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, nobody can just study for a few months and be like, yep, I know it all. I know brain education.
No,
It's really about living it.
it's a lifelong study.
Yeah.
There's always something to improve, something to learn, some way to connect to yourself a little bit deeper and
Yeah.
help people a little bit deeper.
And no matter what everybody's good at, you may meet somebody who's got a lot more experience with yoga or a lot more experience with meditation. But I guarantee brain education has something that that person can utilize that they might not have done before.
Right. And I think it's like the most fulfilling thing. I've had other jobs in the past, but as a career and as a job, it's the most fulfilling thing to me being a brain education instructor, not only because it helps me personally through the techniques, being able to do it myself, but then sharing this with other people. I really realized that sharing is such a key thing that brings joy in many people that I didn't know before, because society is like, okay, you just mind your own business, you just do your own thing, and you don't share.
Right.
But from that, I felt isolated and empty inside too. So the joy of helping myself, the joy of helping other people, and the joy of even, if I didn't have brain education, I wouldn't have met you guys. I wouldn't have met you. I wouldn't have met Il Chili. I wouldn't have had a YouTube channel. My life would be totally different if I didn't have brain education. And I can't even imagine, you guys don't even know how much you guys helped me grow, improve myself. You guys give me a lot of confidence too. So just imagining that I wouldn't have any of this in my life and I would be my age right now, I would be in a pretty dark, dismal place. I know that for a fact.
That's, I feel like talking about the community because we all want community. We all look for people that we can enjoy being around. Or for me, like I found people that I really respected. I just respected the way they carried themselves, the way they dealt with each other. And that was a big thing in the beginning. Like I said, lots of ideas, but what really made a difference was the way I felt in my body and also the people that I met.
Yeah.
And then after that, like Yunjin said, when I was a teacher, I remember the first time that I taught in a new studio. So I had been in one body and brain center for a long time. And then suddenly I was asked to teach in a new center, first time. And I was so nervous because these were new people I'd never met and I thought I'd be judged. And of course, all those old voices come up and it was so hard. And this was about 6 months after I started teaching. So I went to this new center and I remember being so nervous. I cried before the class.
Oh no!
Which for a guy is terrible. Oh, it feels like you're dying. But then, it's actually good. You get it out. And I got up there and I started teaching. And within like 3 minutes, I was so happy and proud of myself. I was so reassured. Yeah, this is going to work. But I would never have decided to do that if I didn't have people show up for the class and wait there. And I had to go out there. And that happened many times, not quite to that level, but many days I wouldn't have done meditation. I wouldn't have taken care of my body. I wouldn't have moved if I didn't have people who were there to practice together. But because I was an instructor, they came and I had to do it. And the result is for 16 years, I've been able to practice something that's good for me.
So anything else, David, that you want to share to those who may be interested after hearing this YouTube Live? If you guys are maybe dabbling, oh, wait, I kind of want to become an instructor too. Like for people who are thinking that, do you have anything you want to share?
Well, the two things, the one thing you said before, if you want to be an instructor, then become an instructor. How? Either contact Yunjin here or come to a Body and Brain Center. We actually have a program, especially for younger people, young at heart, the Heroes program. It's really about leadership. It's about self-discovery and empowerment. So it'll physically be a good workout. It'll challenge you. We do an online class once a month. And we've got a special instructor from Miami, Alex, and he loves to do some strong exercise. So you're going to sweat, you're going to dance, and then you get a chance to do meditation and also meet a community of people who want to make the world a better place. So that Heroes class through Body and Brain, I really recommend to try it out. But if you want to be an instructor, contact me through B&B TV, contact BETV, and say, I want to be a brain education instructor. How do I start? And we'll help you with the best thing, whether it's an in-person center or whether it's an online program.
Yeah, so in the chat, guys, I put the link for that Heroes Night. It's a completely free thing that you guys can join to experience 1 hour of high intensity brain education and also meet other people who are in the community as well. So please join. It's free. You have nothing to lose. If you have some time, go to that link, sign up, opt in, and then you can watch the webinar for free. It's going to be live. You can communicate directly with the instructor and other people there.
You can participate, you can watch it, but you're also going to need to move your body and have some space and dance and all that. So I hope you're ready for that. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. And we also are going to do community service. So the Heroes groups in each region, or even if you're tuning in and there's nobody else nearby you, you can set up a service project and then report in and let us know how it went. And our Heroes group is going to encourage each other with these service projects like a park cleanup, beach cleanup, maybe volunteering at a soup kitchen, all those kind of things.
Right. Because I really want to emphasize what David said, that the community of brain education is what really sets us apart. Yeah. The community, they say tribe out there, but really the community is so supportive. Not only just for each other, but for their instructors and for the participants and everybody involved. So I think just that the energy of our brain education community is something so unique.
Yeah, I think so too. And anybody, it doesn't matter where you're from, how old you are, what religion, what kind of physical experience, it doesn't matter. The goal is let's be healthy together. Let's be happy together and let's live in a peaceful world together. That's it. Right. That's the goal. And then how? Well, we've got these brains and we got these bodies and we can use them pretty well. And brain education is just about how these things work to be healthy, happy, and more peaceful. Right.
And we got another super chat donation. Woo! Amor students! Amor! Thank you so much, Amor!
Much love.
Yay, thank you so much for your support. I like this emoji too. Woo!
Yeah, a little bit of, money, spirituality, it goes together. This is the modern era. We got to put it all together.
This is how I fly into work.
Oh, is that a pear?
Looks like a little green pear.
Green pear flying.
Yeah, so let me read some of the comments here before we talk about some other things. So let's see.
I like this one. I danced West Coast swing. I learned humility. You know what? It's actually a good point. When you try to do something new, especially with your body, and you're not coordinated. When I started breakdancing, I was passionate, but I could not do it. But I remember being passionate. And some things in my life, I was much more self-conscious. If I wasn't good at it, I didn't want to try it. But that one, I was really passionate. So even I wasn't good at it, I was willing to learn.
Yeah, I took a Zumba class yesterday, and oh man, that made me so humble because I'm so not flexible and like my hips don't move like other people can. So I was like, dang.
I know.
I need to practice.
And that's actually a lack of humility is often we're not moving our bodies enough. We're not getting out there and trying new things and interacting with people. If you just get out there and try to learn something new, you will learn humility.
Yeah. VA Tracker is one of our fans who comes to all of our lives. So it's good to see you again, VA Tracker. It's okay if you're driving. Please be safe, okay? Please be safe. Please be safe while driving.
Yeah, be careful.
Tushy Tickler, you two are the perfect combination of perfect and cute.
What a cute name.
Tushy Tickler, yeah, you are the perfect combination of perfect and cute.
Yeah, something.
All right, BNB, learned about my true self. There's a true self I learned. Yes. So if you want to know about your true self too, please join Body and Brain.
That is a really interesting thing. That's a really interesting thing. True self, we have it, but really trusting that. I'm sure everybody has felt that essence that I have a true self beyond my emotions, my thinking. But to really get in touch with that on a regular basis and have confidence in it, that's life-changing.
Yeah. And I recognize Emma, familiar name. Hi, Emma. We know Emma.
What's up, Emma?
All right. So hello from Tenerife, Marian. Wow.
Oh, yeah. I think, Marian, are you coming to one of the Body and Brain programs sometime soon? I think you might be. Looking forward to seeing you.
And then Amor, what state are you in? We are in Arizona, where it is currently like 120 degrees Fahrenheit.
It is hot. Woo! It is really hot.
So let's take a question here. JN82846. My biggest problem now that I'm older is I keep running into limitations of my body. I get going, doing exercises, but after a week or two, my knees or other parts of my body just start breaking down. Do we have any tips?
Yeah, everybody eventually runs into this. One of the big things that kind of shifted my track was injuries. So I was, even before dancing, I was playing sports and I had 2 knee surgeries.
Wow.
And so that kind of ended.
How old were you?
I was 19.
Wow, 2 knee surgeries at 19?
19 and 20. I think I had them 2 years in a row.
Wow.
ACL replacement. So it really sucked. And it changed not only my physical activity, but the way I felt about myself, because I was proud of being an athlete, and then I didn't have that anymore.
Oh, man.
So what I learned, and I think everybody learns this eventually, is the difference between kind of just working out your body and healing your body and taking care of your body and having a bigger purpose beyond just looking good or physically being the best. You can find your level. Now, I know if you're trying, you're probably already feeling the limitation, right? 2 times a week, oh, my knees start to hurt. I guarantee there's a way that we can go deeper, that you can build up more energy and you can do more without hurting yourself. But it will require you to pass the limit that you didn't pass before. That could be a mental limit, could be an emotional limit. It could be patience, it could be self-love, or it could be a physical work. But there is some limit that I believe we all have that we can get through, and our body can be healthier and feel better. It may not mean you're going to go run a marathon, but I guarantee we can do more.
Edebiat wants to ask, what should we do as a first step to change our brains for the better?
What do you think?
I think to change your brain, you have to move your body a lot. Because when you try to mind trick your brain to changing, it doesn't work very well. And then when you move your
body, out of your head.
Yeah, when you move your body, then you're able to feel your body more. So when you move, don't move mindlessly. I know when people exercise, the reason why they injure themselves is because they move mindlessly, right? But when you move, try to move in a mindful way. It could just be like light dancing or just even light shaking side to side, or just even like just walking around your block, but feeling the bottom of your feet, feeling your arms swinging, feeling your chest. When you connect with your body like this, then you can see so many good things that you're already doing inside. I think the reason why people get stuck in a negative state is because they're doing 90% good things, but they focus on the 10% bad things that they're lacking in, and they feel stuck in this way. But it's not because there's anything wrong with you. It's just your brain is trained to see only the negative things, the bad things that you're lacking. So when you just train your brain to shift from focusing on the bad to, okay, I feel myself, I feel my body, and I can see, wow, my shoulders are not as bad as I thought they were.
Absolutely.
Or wow, my posture is not as bad as I thought it was. When you start seeing the good things about yourself and training your brain to see that, then you can slowly build this habit of seeing positive, more hopeful things to you. And that's a step to change your brain.
And you made me think of the word disconnection. So why we have 90% like good things, just being alive, having a roof and food to eat. It's something to be happy about, but 90% we don't notice it. That's a disconnection. So One thing, I know that feeling when you're in that mode and everything seems to feel heavy and not so productive. There's a discomfort that's actually really useful. So if you understand how the brain works and how your body and brain work together, you can look for something to interrupt your pattern, interrupt the comfortable pattern. And if you are confident about that, you're going to go out and do something, and afterwards you'll be in a new state of mind. But it should be slightly uncomfortable. Like if you got up right now and started just running in place, and your brain would have all sorts of reactions, and your body might be like, I don't want to do this right now. Why am I doing this? But if you have the intention, I'm going to really feel my body and be present, that discomfort is actually the fastest way to switch out of a comfortable but kind of negative mindset. So getting used to the value of discomfort, not pain. I'm not saying to like make yourself painful, but something that's out of the comfort zone is the most useful way to reset your brain.
Let's read some other comments. So it's me, Ina. Hi, Brain Education. Glad to watch you again. Lots of love. Hi, Ina. Marian, I've recovered my joint elasticity and have stopped biting my nails after 2 years of practice, body and brain. Wow. So it helped your anxiety a lot. Biting nails is anxious feeling. So it must have helped your anxiety a lot.
Nice job.
Great. And we have another super chat. Hey, gold.
Happy dog.
Yeah, that looks like a Shiba Inu as well.
Shiba Inu, okay. Thank you.
This is my human rendition of the emoji.
Thank you, Jay Gold.
Thank you so much. Woo! Okay, so I think Edibia, this is the last question we can take. We're running out of time. I know I wish we could take all your questions, but if you want to ask more questions, you can always email us at braineducationtv@gmail.com. So if we don't get to your questions here in the live, please email the questions and we'll answer, okay? So the last question, how can we cross limitation of our minds from emotional perspective? How can we cross the limitations of our mind from an emotional perspective? You just need practice. You just need practice looking at the good rather than the bad. Especially if you're stuck in that negative state, as we've been talking about before, if you're stuck in that depressive state, you just need to connect with yourself and see the positive things that you are already doing. And when that just repeats, because your brain actually is just a machine that runs on repetition. So if you're stuck in a negative state, it became that way because you repeated the negative thought. The opposite can be true. If you repeat a positive thought, that becomes your habit. So when you just repeat the good thing, then you don't have to force yourself to, okay, all right, brain, we're going to cross the limitation and you're going to become positive. Like if you try to mind control your way like that, it doesn't work.
That's
okay?
right.
So just keep repeating the positive thinking and your mind will naturally cross over without you having to fight it.
So I want to share a principle, like brain education principle that we use a lot in Body and Brain. And it's about the layers of our consciousness. So we got thinking, and if you're in a limit with the thinking, there's a lot of doubt, everything seems like it's hard. Underneath that is the emotion. And if we can get into the emotional layer, if we can express some emotion, if we can move our body or use our voice, I want to recommend using your voice. That actually will change our thinking quicker than spending all day thinking about something. So use the more powerful layer, which is emotion. And often if you meet with somebody, let's say you've got a friend who's always positive, but real, like they help you to really face things. Meet with that person, have an honest conversation. I guarantee you're going to move some emotion. But once the emotion starts moving, don't be afraid. Like if you start to get angry, take that as just an emotional layer is starting to move. That's a good thing because a lot of people will start that process and then shut it down and things don't move and we say, oh, I don't want to go there again. Let it move. And then underneath the emotional layer is the body. So at the deepest layer, if you've got a lot of emotional limits, I really recommend just use your body, like with Brain Education, Body and Brain, learn how to breathe, learn how to strengthen your core energy center, use your body. That's the way to break through emotional limits.
Right. All right. So Felicia, Hi. Oh my God. The day I discovered you was the happiest day of my life. I was feeling so much pain all over my body until I found your video on lymphatic video. Wow. Thank you so much, Felicia. Where are you tuning in from? Let us know. Edibiat. Thanks, guys, for the answers. Thanks for tuning in.
Oh, I thought she was tuning in from London because her last name is London.
No, yeah, Felicia, let us know where you're tuning in from.
If it is London, that's really cool.
Yeah, that is cool, right? I'm Felicia London from London.
Thank you for the discomfort. Yeah. So the other thing you made me think of was a simple action, but with intention. Even smiling can be a powerful choice. It can be a difficult choice. If you smile in the face of all the thinking and emotion, that's your choice. But that can be the beginning of a new pattern. So if you have a reason, if you're willing, try doing that and you can get out of your emotional limit as well.
Right, because it's easy to smile when life gives you something to smile about. Anybody can do that. Anybody, even with a depressed brain, can do that. But someone who can smile when there's nothing to smile about and life is like going to total ruin, that person, their brain, that's not something anybody can do.
Yeah, and it's not about just ignoring reality.
Right.
It's about actually having a reason, but that reason is totally self-sufficient. It's my reason.
Right.
It's because, I'm not productive if I keep thinking that way.
Right. Yeah. So thank you all for joining today. We want to close this live with a couple of announcements. So David, can you remind people about the Heroes Night one more time?
Please join us. It's free. It's online. We exercise a little, we dance, we do meditation. And we're going to do it every Tuesday, second Tuesday of the month in the evening. I think it's 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern. It's free, as I said. Just follow the link and then you'll get on the email list and you'll get the links through the email list. So we would love to have you there. It's a lot of fun. And I highly recommend take a body and brain class. We've got lovely instructors all over the country in most cities. And it's a lot of fun. And it's a great way to start practicing brain education.
Yeah, that's true. I started my brain education journey at a Body and Brain Center. So if you want to start too, then look up bodyandbrain.com. I dropped the link in the chat. Find some locations near you and join and say, we're from BTV. We saw David, we saw Linda, and we want to do brain education. So we came here. They will be so happy.
And if you want to be an instructor, brain education instructor, I want to tell you, you can do it. This organization, Body and Brain, Brain Education TV, are incredibly willing to help you on that journey. You don't have to have a lot of experience, but if you've got that willingness, definitely excited to hear about it.
Yeah. And then JN846, will you post this video? Yes, our YouTube lives always go on our channel as a recording. So you can rewatch it there. Yeah. And then also you may notice I'm wearing our channel t-shirt, Take Back Your Brain. So this is our old t-shirt, but we also have a new one that says Love Myself, Heal Myself in a green heart. So if you want to get a brain education TV t-shirt too, check out this link.
I thought you had the other one underneath this one. And then our new shirt.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
see, he's a power brain. This is what brain education does to you. Get creative.
And if you haven't yet, I'm just going to plug one more time. We do have Body and Brain TV on YouTube. You can go over and subscribe. We do most of our kind of yoga and Tai Chi mini classes and quick tips. So if you're interested in a quick exercise to feel better or to refresh your brain, we're making new videos every week there.
Yeah. So Body and Brain, Brain Education are very similar. They're from the same roots, same parents. So either way, you could learn brain education and become part of the community.
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So one more time, I want to say before you guys go, if you support our channel, if you like the content that we make, if you like the content that we just made today, then please consider donating in the super chat. It is below the chat function, that rectangle button with a $sign. If you click that, you can donate some money to show some support for our channel, Brain Education TV. Yes. All right. Thank you all for joining. We'll see you next time. We're going to do these once a month, David and I sitting together, talking about some aspect of being an instructor or some aspect of our community. Yeah. So tune in.
I'm looking forward to hearing more what you guys are doing with your life, what you're dealing with, and what you're interested in talking about more.
Yeah. So until next time, we'll see you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.